The summit chamber of Avarice Prime glittered with opulence. Prismatic light cascaded through the crystalline ceiling, refracting off polished marble floors and bathing the room in a kaleidoscope of colors. Delegates from dozens of species filled the hall, their voices blending into a harmonious hum of diplomacy. At the center stood Ambassador Vance, his tailored suit and calm demeanor exuding confidence as he addressed the assembly. "This is our moment," Vance declared, raising his glass of golden oronite wine. "A moment to put aside past grievances and forge a path of unity. Humanity seeks not dominance, but—" The sound of a single, sharp crack reverberated through the chamber. For an instant, it seemed like nothing had happened. Then, Vance's glass slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. He staggered backward, eyes wide with shock, before collapsing to the ground. A dark crimson stain spread across his chest. Gasps filled the room, followed by panic screams. Delegates dove for cover, guards shouted orders, and chaos erupted. Standing at the edge of the room, a figure cloaked in black lowered a weapon, its barrel still smoking. For a fleeting moment, their face was illuminated, a humanoid with sharp features and piercing, unblinking eyes. They vanished into the crowd, their exit as silent as their shot. On Earth, President Lena Travers sat in the Oval Command Room, staring at the holographic feed from Avarice Prime. Her face, usually a mask of composure, was pale with shock. Around her, advisors whispered among themselves, exchanging theories and concerns. "Madam President," said General Arjun Patel, his voice low but steady, "this was an assassination. Deliberate. Precise. No ordinary protest or random act of violence." Travers leaned forward, her fingers steepled. "Who benefits from killing our ambassador during peace talks? The Dominion? Highly likely," Patel replied. "The emblem left behind matches Dominion military insignia. But we can't confirm yet." Secretary of State Yvonne Marsh shook her head. "We need to be cautious. If we accuse them without concrete proof, we risk igniting the very war we've been trying to avoid." Travers nodded slowly, her gaze unwavering. "Then find me proof. And send for Captain Elena Drax. I want her leading the investigation." Elena Drax stood in the combat simulation chamber aboard the Resolute, watching as holographic enemies flickered out one by one. Her crew cheered as she delivered the final blow, a calculated strike that ended the scenario in record time. "Captain, you've still got it," quipped Lieutenant Aaron Vega, grinning as he wiped sweat from his brow. Elena smirked, her sharp blue eyes meeting his. "Don't you forget it, Vega. If you want to keep up, you'll need to sharpen those reflexes." Before Vega could respond, a soft chime interrupted them. Elena's communicator glowed, displaying the Terran Confederacy's emblem. She tapped it, her expression shifting to professional alertness. "Captain Drax?" came the voice of Admiral Janice Cole, her tone grave. "You're being reassigned. Report to Earth immediately." The atmosphere in the Oval Command Room was heavy when Elena arrived. She stepped inside, her uniform crisp, her presence commanding. "Captain Drax?" Travers began, motioning for her to sit. "I assume you've heard about the situation on Avarice Prime." "Only fragments," Elena replied. "An assassination during peace talks?" Travers nodded. "Ambassador Vance is dead. All signs point to the Dominion, but we don't have enough evidence to act definitively. Your mission is to uncover the truth." Elena's brow furrowed. "And if the Dominion is behind this? Then we prepare for war," General Patel interjected. Elena let the weight of his words settle before responding. "Understood. What's my first step?" Travers slid a data tablet across the table. "You'll lead a covert operation to the Dominion-controlled planet Korath. Intelligence suggests the assassin may have ties to a rogue faction there. Your orders are to retrieve evidence, anything that proves Dominion involvement." Elena took the tablet, scanning its contents. "And if we're caught?" Travers's voice turned steely. "Officially, you won't exist." Back aboard the Resolute, Elena gathered her senior officers in the war room. A holographic map of Korath floated above the table, its dark, industrial landscape dotted with glowing red markers. Korath is a Dominion stronghold, Elena began. Our intelligence suggests it's also a hub for illicit activity, including rogue military factions. That's where we'll find our lead. Lieutenant Vega leaned forward, studying the map. What's the plan, Captain? We'll approach under stealth protocols, Elena replied. Once in orbit, a small team will infiltrate the surface disguised as traders. Our objective is to locate a Dominion informant known as Vakar. He's our best chance at finding the assassin's trail. And if it's a trap? Asked Lieutenant Commander Nadiarin. Elena's gaze hardened. Then we adapt. But make no mistake, this mission is critical. If we fail, the Terran Confederacy could be dragged into a war we're not ready for. Later that evening, Elena stood alone in her quarters, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. Her reflection in the window showed a woman who bore the weight of countless lives on her shoulders. The image of Ambassador Vance lying in a pool of his own blood replayed in her mind. It was a reminder of what was at stake, not just for humanity, but for every species seeking peace in a galaxy teetering on the edge of chaos. Taking a deep breath, she turned away from the window and donned her tactical gear. The time for doubt had passed. The Resolute's engines roared to life, propelling the ship into the unknown. As the stars stretched into lines, Elena's voice echoed through the intercom. Crew of the Resolute, this is Captain Drax. We're heading into hostile territory, but we've faced worse before. Stay sharp, trust your training, and trust each other. This mission is bigger than any one of us. Let's bring Vance's killer to justice. The crew's unified response reverberated through the ship, a powerful reminder of their shared purpose. And so, the hunt began. The Resolute slipped through the void of Dominion-controlled space like a shadow. Every system aboard the Terran destroyer operated at minimal power, its stealth array absorbing and deflecting sensor signals. Captain Elena Drax stood on the bridge, her arms crossed as she studied the holographic map hovering above the command table. Red icons representing Dominion patrol ships dotted the surrounding star systems, their patterns precise and unyielding. Course correction complete, announced Lieutenant Vega from the helm. His voice was steady, but Elena didn't miss the tightness in his jaw. Time to Korath? She asked, her tone clipped. 3 hours, Captain, he replied. If we maintain this speed, we'll pass their outer detection grid without incident. Good, Elena said. Her eyes lingered on the map for a moment longer before she turned to her first officer, Lieutenant Commander Nadiarin. Prep the infiltration team. I want everyone fully briefed and ready to deploy the moment we hit orbit. Ren nodded, her sharp features set with determination. Understood, Captain. 3 hours later, the Resolute entered orbit around Korath, a grim industrial world blanketed by choking clouds of smoke and ash. Massive foundries sprawled across its surface, their fiery glow visible even from space. Orbiting the planet were dozens of Dominion ships, a silent but constant reminder of the Empire's iron grip. Maintain stealth protocols, Elena ordered. We can't afford to be seen. The infiltration team gathered in the ship's hangar bay, each member clad in plain, nondescript attire that marked them as traders. Elena stood at the front, her demeanor calm but commanding. Our objective is simple, she began, addressing her team. We're here to locate a Dominion informant named Vakar. He operates out of a black market hub near the central foundries. Our cover story is that we're independent traders looking for high-grade tech. Stick to it, and don't draw attention to yourselves. And if Vakar decides he doesn't want to talk? Asked Vega, his voice laced with a hint of dry humor. Elena allowed a faint smirk. Then we'll persuade him. Subtly. The team descended to Korath aboard a battered civilian shuttle, its exterior scorched and dented to complete the illusion of desperate traders. The docking port they approached was as bleak as the planet itself, lined with corroded metal platforms and guarded by suspicious eyes. Remember, keep it quiet, Elena murmured as the shuttle touched down. The team disembarked and made their way into the black market hub. The air was thick with the acrid stench of burning metal and sweat. Merchants peddled salvage technology from makeshift stalls, their voices a harsh cacophony of haggling and curses. Dominion enforcers loomed in the shadows, their cold gazes scanning the crowd. Elena led her team with practiced ease, her steps confident but unhurried. They navigated the maze of stalls until they reached a secluded corner where a hulking alien leaned against a stack of crates. His skin was the color of tarnished bronze, and his small, shrewd eyes darted toward them. "You must be Vaker," Elena said, keeping her voice neutral. "Depends who's asking," the alien replied, his voice a low rumble. "Traitors," Elena said smoothly. "Looking for something specific. Word is you know how to find it." Vaker's eyes narrowed. "What kind of something?" "A contract killer," Elena said, her voice dropping slightly. "One with Dominion ties." Vaker stiffened, his gaze flicking over her team. "You've got the wrong place. Move along." Elena stepped closer, her tone hardening. "Don't play coy. We know you have information. Help us, and we'll make it worth your while." "And if I don't?" Vaker challenged. "You won't like the alternative," Vega added, his hand resting casually on his holstered weapon. Vaker hesitated, glancing around to ensure no one was watching. "Fine," he muttered. "But this is dangerous knowledge. If anyone finds out I helped you—" "They won't," Elena assured him. Vaker leaned in, lowering his voice. "The assassin you're looking for is part of a rogue faction within the Dominion military. They're called the Shadow Talons. Their leader, Commander Zoreth Talvek, orchestrated the hit on your ambassador. I've got proof, coded transmission logs." "Where are they?" Elena asked. "In a data vault 2 levels down," Vaker said. "But you'll need clearance to access it." Elena nodded. "We'll handle it." The team descended into the bowels of the hub, where the air grew colder and the dim lighting cast eerie shadows on the walls. Dominion patrols roamed the corridors, their boots echoing ominously. "This is where things get tricky," Elena murmured, signaling for her team to split into pairs. They navigated the labyrinthine halls with practiced precision, avoiding patrols and security cameras. Elena and Vega reached the data vault first, a reinforced door guarded by 2 Dominion soldiers. "I've got this," Vega whispered, pulling a small device from his pocket. He approached the guards with an air of confidence, flashing a forged ID card. "Special delivery for Commander Zoreth," he said. The guards hesitated but stepped aside. Vega slipped inside, followed closely by Elena. The data vault was a small, sterile room lined with terminals. Elena quickly located the transmission logs and began downloading them onto a portable drive. "Got it," she said, tucking the drive into her jacket. Before they could leave, an alarm blared. The guards outside shouted orders, and the sound of boots thundered toward them. "Time to move," Elena said, drawing her weapon. The corridors erupted in chaos as Dominion forces closed in. The team fought their way back to the docking port, their movements sharp and coordinated. "Elena, behind you!" Vega shouted, firing at an approaching soldier. Elena spun, neutralizing the threat before nodding her thanks. They reached their shuttle under heavy fire. As the engines roared to life, the ship lifted off, narrowly avoiding a barrage of plasma bolts. Back aboard the Resolute, Elena sat in the war room, staring at the data they'd retrieved. The logs confirmed Vaker's claim: Zoreth had orchestrated the assassination. But there was more. "The Shadow Talons aren't just rogue," Elena said, her voice grim. "They have sympathizers within the Dominion's upper ranks. This conspiracy runs deep." Ren frowned. "What's our next move?" Elena's eyes hardened. "We expose them. No matter the cost." The room fell silent, the weight of their mission sinking in. "Prepare the crew," Elena said. "This is just the beginning." The air aboard the Resolute was tense. In the war room, Captain Elena Drax stood with her officers, the stolen transmission logs displayed as holographic text and images. The room was dim, the blue glow of the projection casting sharp shadows across determined faces. "This is it," Elena said, her voice low but commanding. "This is the proof we've been searching for." Lieutenant Commander Nadia Ren leaned in, her sharp eyes scanning the logs. Commander Zorath Talvek and the Shadow Talons weren't acting alone. These messages implicate multiple high-ranking Dominion officials. Lieutenant Aaron Vega whistled softly, shaking his head. A conspiracy at the highest levels. If we release this, it'll send shockwaves through the galaxy. It's not enough to release it, Elena replied, her tone resolute. The Dominion will deny everything. They'll claim the evidence was fabricated by us to destabilize them. Then what do we do? Ren asked. Elena straightened, her hands resting on the table. We force their hand. If we can capture Zorath and make him confess, the Dominion won't be able to hide the truth. We'll expose this plot and bring them to justice. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, Ren spoke. Do we have any idea where Zorath is? Elena gestured to the map projected above the table. Intel suggests he's on a Dominion outpost in the Yezer system. It's isolated, heavily fortified, and not an easy target. Vega smirked, his trademark confidence returning. When has that ever stopped us? Elena allowed herself a faint smile. Never. But this mission will push us to the limit. We'll deploy in 2 teams, one to breach the outpost and secure Zorath, the other to disable their defenses and ensure a clean escape. Questions? Silence filled the room. Her crew was ready. The Resolute arrived at the edge of the Yezer system cloaked in stealth. The Dominion outpost loomed ahead, a sprawling fortress of metal and stone surrounded by asteroid fields and defensive turrets. Scans confirm heavy resistance, Ren reported from her station. Anti-ship batteries, fighter patrols, and a full battalion of troops stationed on the surface. Nothing we can't handle, Elena said, her voice steady. Deploy the infiltration teams. The infiltration team's shuttle slipped through the asteroid field, its engines muted to avoid detection. Inside, Elena sat beside Vega and Ren, reviewing the plan one last time. Team Alpha will handle the defenses, Elena said. Team Beta is with me. We'll locate Zorath and extract him. Vega nodded, checking his equipment. And if he resists? Elena's expression hardened. Then we make him cooperate. The shuttle touched down in a secluded docking bay on the outpost's surface. The team moved swiftly, their movements precise and silent. Elena led them through narrow corridors, her pulse steady despite the tension in the air. The control room was their first target. Ren worked quickly at the terminal, her fingers flying over the keys as she bypassed Dominion's security protocols. Almost there, she muttered. Just a few more. An alarm blared, cutting her off. They've spotted us! Vega shouted, raising his weapon as a squad of Dominion soldiers stormed the corridor. Elena reacted instantly, firing precise shots that dropped 2 soldiers before they could raise their rifles. The rest of the team followed suit, their training evident in their coordinated movements. Ren, get that door open! Elena barked. I'm trying! Ren snapped, sweat beading on her brow as she worked frantically. The door finally slid open, and the team rushed inside, securing the room. Ren sealed the entrance behind them, buying precious time. Defenses are down, Ren reported, catching her breath. Team Alpha should have a clear path. Good, Elena said. Now let's find Zorath. Deeper within the outpost, the atmosphere grew colder, the lights dimmer. The air was thick with the hum of machinery and the distant echoes of boots on metal floors. Elena's communicator crackled to life. Team Alpha here. We've disabled the outer defenses, but reinforcements are on their way. You need to move fast, Captain. Understood, Elena replied. We're closing in on Zorath's location. The team reached a reinforced door marked with Dominion insignia. Vega placed a small explosive charge on the lock, stepping back as it detonated with a sharp pop. Inside, Zora stood waiting. The Dominion commander was tall and imposing, his silver armor gleaming in the dim light. His expression was calm, almost amused, as he regarded the intruders. Well, Zora said, his voice smooth and cold. I wasn't expecting guests. I assume you're here to kill me? Not today, Elena replied, leveling her weapon at him. You're coming with us. Zorath chuckled, his hands clasped behind his back. Do you really think I'll go quietly? You don't have a choice, Vega said, stepping forward. Zorath's calm demeanor shattered as he lunged toward a hidden console. Elena fired, grazing his arm and forcing him to halt. Enough! Elena barked. Surrender, or the next shot won't miss. Zorath glared at her, his hand twitching as if weighing his options. Finally, he raised his hands in surrender. Smart move, Elena said, nodding to Vega. Secure him. With Zorath in custody, the team retraced their steps to the docking bay. The outpost was in chaos, alarms blaring and soldiers scrambling to contain the breach. Team Alpha status? Elena called over the comms. We're pinned down near the perimeter, came the reply. They're throwing everything they've got at us. Elena cursed under her breath. Hold your position. We're on our way. The team fought their way through the outpost, Zorath restrained and dragged along by Vega. Dominion forces swarmed them at every turn, but the resolute crew held their ground, their resolve unshakable. As they reached the docking bay, a squad of Dominion soldiers blocked their path. Elena fired, her shots precise and lethal, as the team pressed forward. Get to the shuttle! She shouted. The team piled aboard, Zorath thrown into a secured seat as the engines roared to life. Plasma bolts streaked past the shuttle as it lifted off, narrowly escaping the outpost's defenses. Back aboard the Resolute, Zorath sat in the interrogation chamber, his armor stripped away, his expression defiant. You've lost, Elena said, standing across from him. We have the logs. We have you. It's over. Zorath smirked. You think exposing me will change anything? The Dominion will deny everything. You'll have your war, whether you want it or not. Elena leaned in, her voice cold. Maybe. But we'll make sure the galaxy knows the truth. And you'll be remembered as the man who tried to hide it. Zorath's smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. Elena straightened, turning to leave. Take him to the brig. And prep the crew. This fight is far from over. As she walked away, her determination burned brighter than ever. The battle for justice had only just begun.